Evan Carter is underperforming and it's been really rough. Do we quit on him or do we try and acquire him? We'll talk about that and more on today's action packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. Find me on X, Twitter at Matthew_Ane. Last name is spelled A as an apple, H as in Harry, N as in Nancy, E as in Echo. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the bell below to subscribe to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Also, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify. Really helps out the show. We truly appreciate it. If you want a little bit more than what we offer on this 30-minute podcast, check out the Diamond Club on Subtext. The link is in the description below. You get a free 2 weeks. We give you a whole bunch of extra perks that you can't get here on the show because we're limited on time. So please check us out. Promise you won't regret it. And guys, we're also giving away this beautiful hat I'm wearing. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not, just check out the feed for a minute. This is awesome shirt hat here. All you got to do is share our social media posts on Twitter, Twitter, Instagram, on my Twitter, Instagram, on Dom's Twitter, Instagram, and it counts as an entry. You have until June 14th, and we're announcing the winner on Dom's birthday. So please check us out there and do that for you if you want this awesome hat. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonMLB and use the code in all lowercase locked on MLB for first deposit match up to $100. Guys, we got a lot going on. Dom wasn't able to make it today. My guy has a day job, as do I. But he said, hey, I got to work late tonight and make that money, Matt. So it's on you. And hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have a good time with you. And we got a lot of good stuff. And today we're talking trade for and aways. And as I mentioned up at the top, we have probably one of the guys that I was high on, Dom was high on coming into the season as Evan Carter. Evan Carter for us was probably the one rookie out of the whole class that we truly thought was, we thought we knew who he was, right? Figured, okay, this kid is the most proven kid out of this class. He's going to be good. There's no way it doesn't happen. And unfortunately, he's been performing pretty atrociously. I mean, the season numbers are kind of just ugly. Um, 132 at bats, 23 runs, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 5 bombs, 15 ribs, 2 stolen bases, batting 205, a OBP of 293, a slug of 394, an OPS of 687. The slug I'm not mad at, but it could be better, truthfully. Um, the walks to strikeouts are a lot worse than last year. 15 walks to 38 strikeouts. Just he's not doing Evan Carter things essentially, and it's kind of it's kind of frustrating. I honestly thought he'd come in, be this guy, and pretty much just pick up right where he left off. I felt like he was going to have 20 to 25 home runs. He was going to have 20 to 25 stolen bases, if not more. And he's not stealing, he's not doing anything, and it's kind of like a little disappointing. You know, he did have a little sprint this month, which is most of his stats. He has 10 runs, 3 bombs, 9 ribs, a stolen base, and batting 221 on the month. But the last 2 weeks have been atrocious. 2 runs and a rib, batting .91. This last week did absolutely diddly squat. Evan Carter does not look right. We even go when we look at a little bit of like the advanced stats here. Uh, you know, batted run value is not great. X-Woba is not great. X batting average is literally right on par at 218. It's just even his average exit velocity at 86 miles per hour. Like that's ugly. Not his barrel percentage is 6.3%. His hard rate percentage is only 33. He's chasing not a lot, which is great. That's the only red on that category. He's striking out. Oh, it's hard to do. I will say this is the one thing that's kind of like concerning for me is he has sprint speed, 98 percentile. You know, you would think he'd have a little bit more stolen bases, but maybe because he's just not getting on base. But you look at just like the differences from last year And it's like exit velocity at 89 this year it's 86. It's just like, hey man, like what's going on? What do I see here that could get better? Now, obviously, here's the thing. You don't go out and you don't perform the way you do through the moment you come up through the playoffs all the way to the World Series and then come into this season and just forget how to play baseball. Like it just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. So what my approach with Evan Carter is, if I can hold him, I'm holding him. If he's killing my team, I'll probably consider dropping him, but I really would really try not to. If I really, really was desperate, I have a lot of injuries, maybe, or try and float him out there in a trade to see what I can get. But also, too, the whole purpose of the show is to trade for him. So, like, I'm going out and I'm trying to acquire him. In a dynasty league, it's gonna be a little harder. But in a redraft league or a limited keepers league, you could totally probably go out there and get Evan Carter. People are fed up. He was a higher end pick. We were telling you to draft him higher. We didn't expect this long slump. We also the one thing we don't know about Evan Carter is like how does he start a season, right? Because he hasn't been in the bigs. There's no real record of I can get a breakdown of how he performed, last year, month by month. Maybe he's just a slow starter. We don't know. But ultimately, right now, he could be so cheap that you might be able to just go out and get him on the cheap and just be like, hey, listen, I'll take a shot on him. Here's a little bit of value. Like, I don't need this person, but maybe there's a trade that fits and you just go, okay, cool. Or you dump one of the guys that are overperforming. You get a couple guys, and we'll talk about that later too, because there's a couple guys. One guy that you probably don't want to trade later, but you can get a lot, you get a haul for. So that's why he's on the show. And a couple of guys that are overperforming, some guys that have bounce back numbers and all that stuff. That's kind of like, okay, cool. We want to like get rid of them to kind of level up essentially. And Evan Carter, I feel you can acquire on the cheap. So let's go out there. Let's try and acquire him if possible, especially if you're in like the first place and you have the luxury of being able to carry a roster anchor at this point. But I spent enough time on Evan Carter. Let's move on. Let's talk Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta's on this because I feel like he's acquirable. And I like Freddie Peralta. He started off the season hot. And honestly, I don't know who's going to be willing to really part with him. But I guess the last like month has been ugly for him essentially. So he's touting a 6.23 ERA with a 1.46 WHIP with 31 strikeouts over 26 innings with one win. He got lit up against Houston at Houston. He had a 4.5 ERA against St. Louis, but had 8 Ks. Got hit against the Cubs too with a 5.4 ERA. And Tampa, he did his job with 3.38, but then Pitt lit him up. So it's just been kind of up and down. He hasn't been living up to the complete hype, but at the same time, like I'm all in on Freddie Peralta. Like the thing is, you look at Peralta and you're like, man, what could possibly be going on with him? That's, you know, that what is the main issue with him? And to be honest, it's just his movement on his fastball is a little flat. And you look at it, it's like, okay, has it ever been? It's about pretty much. I'm waiting for it. Like you look at 2020, his fastball was moving like a beast. 21, it was moving like a beast. 22 was kind of like flattish where it is now. And last year was incredible. So if his fastball is able to fix itself, it's really going to be able to go through it. Same thing with his breaking ball. Things are just not moving the way he wants. You know, he's not giving up hard contact, which is great. He's getting the strikeouts, which is great. He's getting guys to whiff. He is walking guys a little too much. He's allowing a little bit more barrel percentage, and he's not getting a lot of ground balls. But what I'm seeing is there's room for improvement, and there's signs that there is better days to come. So with Peralta, I look at it and I go, hey man, like I see a guy again who I was pretty high on, top 15 arm for me going into the year. I don't that just doesn't disappear. And on top of that, his FIP is a 3.47. Okay. You look at all these numbers, you compare it all out and you go, okay, how is he actually performing? And it looks like to me that he's clearly performing better than what he's showing based off his fit, field, independent pitching. If you had an average defense behind you, what would it be, etc. That's one. Two, you look at all the other things. What you can clearly see is wrong and how he can make the adjustment pretty quickly because he's been successful before. And two, you know, three, what exactly is attainable for him? I think there's a full blown bounce back. So what I think I should do is go out there and trade for him. It's going to take a little bit more because people are still high on him and kind of know who he is at this point and know that he'll be fine. So essentially, you'll have to give up a little bit more, but I still think you should go out and acquire him because once he starts getting going, I don't think he's going to be tradeable. He's not going to be acquirable at all. So get it while the opportunity is there. You won't have to give away like a one or two guy, but you might be able to give away like your three pitcher that's performing really well. But before we move on, let me talk about guys like Cole Reagans, Eloy Jimenez, Nick Lodolo, and so much more. I do have a quick sponsor for you. Are you struggling to close business to business deals? Selling is tougher than ever, and that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high value customers, drive high value revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals, and such as job changes or accounts that you should be prioritizing, and show you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up to date first party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with people that matter. Right now, LinkedIn Sales Navigator and yeah, right now you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get 60-day free trial on linkedin.com/locked on. That's linkedin.com/locked on for 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Let's just go to linkedin.com/locked on and get started today. And guys, I'm in sales. That's my day job, part of my day job at least. And this actually does come to play. I use the product to have a product that can help me navigate on who I should be talking to is a big plus. And if you have your own company or you need a little leg up on the rest of the competition in your company, LinkedIn Sales Navigator can seriously put you over the edge. Check it out today. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have you had to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or free on the Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, 7 Eastern. Streaming live on Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or free Amazon Fire TV channel apps. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Rely on our dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury actions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of those fantasy leagues by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where your path to victory begins. Subscribe now and elevate that fantasy baseball experience to new levels. You get a free 2 weeks, so why wouldn't you want to try it? And I promise you won't turn back. So let's get back into the show. I'm going to move a little bit quicker. I felt like, the first two guys, I could probably spend a half an hour each on them, but, we only have 30 minutes, so we need to keep moving. And let's talk Cole Reagans. Cole Reagans is an interesting case. He started off like a bat out of hell and then kind of teetered off a little bit, but ultimately the season numbers don't look atrocious. Like, he still has a 3's ERA, but it could be better. We'll get into why I think in a second. I just kind of wanted to pull up, what's it looked like for the last month for him. And it's 32 innings, three wins, 35 strikeouts, 4.96 ERA with a 119 whip. Like those are ugly numbers, but let's get into it. Let's dive deep, right? So he has a FIP of a 2.58. That's a lot better than what he's pitched. It's about 2 whole runs better. A whole run better than total numbers and just in general better than what he's been pitching. On top of that, we're going to look at his like kind of more his advanced stats. His his fastball looks great. His off-speed pitches look great. His xERA is a 3.47. So it's a little bit better than his season ERA. And I'm sure just the last month, which I can't get up here, is probably just a couple of little mishaps. Fastball velocity is just fine. He's not giving up hard contact. He's getting people to chase. He's getting the whiff. He's getting the Ks. Walking guys a little too much. He's not letting guys barrel up. Not giving up hard hits. Ground ball could be a little bit better, but ultimately he looks good. He looks like the guy that we all expect him to. There is better days to come. So with that being said, I'm going to say go out and try and get him. Give up like a decent guy and try and pull a fast one. Like you don't have to go too high because also he was like a top 50 pick. He was more like a top 70, top 100 pick, depending on your league. And you can totally go out and I think get him. You might have to give, kind of like the same tier of in the draft, but I feel like Riggins eventually will be higher and be like more of like your SP2 at some point throughout the season. There is going to be better times to come and probably sooner than later, just looking at his stats behind the scenes. So Cole Reagan's is somebody you need to go out and acquire now and, see what fits. Look at their team, see how you can see what they need, see if you can fill that void, especially if they've been struggling in pitching. Maybe you can give them a couple of guys that you got off the waiver wire that are performing. That isn't like, oh my God, I need to keep them like a Cutter Crawford. Do not trade him right now. But like, a Reagan's like try and go out there and see if you can upgrade essentially. Let's move on. Let's talk Eloy Jimenez. Eloy, honestly, is probably going to be the easiest guy to acquire out of everybody besides Evan Carter. And probably even easier than Evan Carter because people are tired. They have fatigue with Eloy, right? Eloy's already been on the IL. Eloy hasn't really been like hasn't moonshot yet, hasn't been living up to it, but Eloy has made small little victories. Like I'm an Eloy owner. We all know if you've been here for a while, you know that I'm an Eloy guy. And you know what? I'm going to be a truther probably to the day the dude retires. I think there's going to be a season where it's just going to be absolutely incredible. But Eloy over the last month, 10 runs, five bombs, 12 ribs, 3 stolen bases, batting 243. Now, yeah, the batting average isn't great, but I know he's a batting average machine, so that's going to come. Okay. The power over the last month, 5 home runs, that's a pretty decent month, especially also missing about 2 weeks. So that's pretty nice. He's been bouncing back. And he's been the last week through 22 at bats. He batted 273. He had a hit tonight out of 3 at bats. Eloy's getting better. Also, too, once Luis Roberts gets back in that lineup, too, Eloy's going to have a little bit more to fight for. The duo is going to be really nice. Eloy just looks like there's more better things to come, right? Like, okay, his average exit velocity is at 92 miles per hour. That's great. Luis Roberts is at 89, just a heads up. So it's a 3 mile per hour difference. He's up there with like great hitters like Jose Altuve and things with like average exit velocity is key, and that's one of the things. His bat speed is awesome, 74, you know, 74 grade, which is great. He's barreling, his hard hit percent of time is 48.5%. So there's more power to come. He's chasing a little bit more, which is kind of like what's kind of showing off in the batting average department. He's not walking as much as he normally does. He's striking out a little bit more. But, if we really look back, like the dude is kind of on pace. He's actually having a better strikeout year than the year before, but he's really on pace. And I think there's a lot better days to come. The biggest caveat with Eloy Jimenez is can he stay healthy, right? Is he going to break like plexiglass? I don't know. But ultimately, I think he should go out there, throw a cheapo ad out there. If he's on the edge of the bench, you might as well go out and acquire him. He's actually under 50%. He's at 45% available. So he's out there in quite a few leagues as well. So that may change just, fluctuate. So he's out there, go pick him up. But if he's on a team and you need an outfielder, Eloy Jimenez, I have a feeling, is just a volcano waiting to erupt, and it's going to happen really soon. A lot of the stuff that I read off is a lot of good indicators that we're going to see a moonshot. So Eloy Jimenez needs to be acquired and added in every league, in my opinion. So, yeah, let's go out there and get him. All right, guys. Before we move on, we start talking about tradeaways, who should we try and sell high on, and things like that. I do have a quick sponsor for you. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stats projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on PrizePicks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. PrizePicks is incredibly user-friendly. You can make your selections and submit your entries in less than 60 seconds. And as the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, I might as well give you some great picks to start you off with. Offer Ryan Mountcastle to have higher than point 0.5 total bases in his next game. Offer Shohei Ohtani to higher than point 0.5 home runs in his next outing. We all know that dude's killing it. Offer CJ Abrams to have higher than point 0.5 stolen bases in his next game. That's coming too. Download the app today and use the code Locked On MLB for first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use the code Locked On MLB for first deposit match up to $100. And guys, I promise the winnings will roll in, so make them picks. Prize picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Whew. All right. Let me get a sip real quick. All right. Let's hit this. Let's start moving in. Let's talk about Alek Manoah. First off, a little clappity clap. I'm so glad to see him back. He looks great. But the question is for how long? Came out in his first outing. Looked good. I watched the game. Looked good through 4. Then got in trouble. And then, honestly, it got ugly real fast. But was able to redeem himself. I will say that. His last 2 starts have been fantastic. Came against Tampa, which is a good team, and Minnesota, who's no pushover. And was able to fan 6 and fan 7. Didn't give up a single run. Had a .29 whip against Tampa and a .71 whip against Minnesota. Manoah looks great. I got to say it. Now, as we dig in, what exactly are we doing here? Right? We got to look at him. And I'm surprised he's very successful right now. And so I think there might be, a high point right now where we just need to get rid of him because his fastball really isn't getting great movement. His off-speed pitches aren't getting it. His breaking balls aren't making runs. Like things aren't moving. They're actually pretty flat. Um, even his fastball velocity has never really been something that blows you away. He's given up somewhat of hard contact. Guys are able to barrel on him. He's walking. He's been a little bit better since that first start. And, again, this is very, very small sample. So, a lot of this could be, okay, this is being hampered from his very first start. So this is very premature. But I'm just looking at what's on paper. How can I analyze Alek Manoah? What is his future right now? Is he worth hanging out? Is he back? I don't know. But what I will say is if I can capitalize on somebody being super excited for my waiver wire pickup and I can go and upgrade, yeah, I'm going to go do that. Yeah, if I can package like Alek Manoah and somebody and go out and get like a Freddie Peralta and an Evan Carter, I might do that. Alek Manoah might be the little push across the finish line that gets it done. Or you hold on to him. Like if I have him, I'm not trading him, but I might. I'm sorry. Take that back. I am trading him if I can get a nice pick. If I can't get something good in return, I'm going to hang on to him because let's see what happens. But if you can capitalize on Alek Manoah now before anything happens, whether it's a flop or gold, do it. Try and buy low. Try and acquire one of these guys. Specifically, either a Reagans or a Peralta would be the guys I'm trying to trade. Obviously, you're going to have to add a lot more. But again, Manoah will get the job done for you and be that extra little thing. So go out there and try and trade him. Let's move on quick. Let's talk about Marcell Ozuna. Now, Marcell Ozuna is absolutely killing it. He's having an incredible year. Honestly, here's the thing for me. What are we looking at here? Is this sustainable, what he's doing? Right now, he has 155 at-bats and 12 home runs. He's on a pace that seriously is like 50 home runs. Like, I mean, he could hit in another, 50 at-bats, and he has like almost a 600 at-bat season, right? So that'd be a 60 home run pace. I don't foresee that going. There's going to be a cool-off. Now, how much of a cool-off? I don't know. But the other thing I'm looking at, too, is like, his batting average is a little bit inflated as well. He's batting 323. He's a career 270 hitter. So, like, that should come down to earth a little bit. He's still going to be good. I think he's going to hit 40 home runs. It's going to look a lot like last season. But what I can do right now, because guys are underperforming, I can go out there and I can go get a couple of high-end players for Ozuna. Now, if I'm trading Ozuna, yeah, I want one of these guys that I mentioned up at the top. But I'm also going to go and try and elevate for, try and fill a couple holes. Like, say, for instance, you missed out on a shortstop or you missed out on a positional player. You have depth because Ozuna was a later pick and your outfield looks great. Now, obviously, Ozuna might be the main cog in it, but if you can spread that wealth over a couple positions, Ozuna is a great trade away player right now. you're capitalizing on his high end value right now and maximizing it to the max. And now you can make your team a little bit more full and get production not just from one dude, but from multiple dudes that can possibly not just add up to him, but then supersede him because there'll be more than one guy at the plate. So go out there and try and trade Marcell Ozuna for a big haul. And I think you can get it done, truthfully. Now let's go into another power bat. Let's talk about Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton now, he's interesting because I lost all faith in this dude, but right now for the Yankees, he's killing it. He has 155 at bats. He has 21 runs. He has 8 doubles. He has 11 bombs, 26 ribs. Walk to strikeout, exactly what I expect to be. 11 walks to 54 strikeouts. He's batting 252. He's an OBP of 301, a slug of 516, an OPS of 817. Now, with Giancarlo, he's been tearing it up. Now, I'm just trying to pull up a couple more things for me here. And, you know, here's how I'm looking at it. His last month, even his last 2 weeks have been absolutely bananas. But most of his production came in these last 2 weeks for this last month. Like 6 runs, 5 bombs, 8 ribs, batting 325 over the last 2 weeks. Then you go to the last month, 12 runs, which means the last 2 weeks only 6 runs. 6 home runs. He had 5 in the last 2, so that means 1 home run and 8 ribs over the previous 2 weeks. He was batting 261, which is a grand total of him hitting from 325. So it's super inflated. And that's also half his numbers. Now he's killing it. Do not get me wrong in the power category, but 5 home runs in a week. Essentially in a week. Well, in 2 weeks. Do you really think it's going to be sustainable, or is it going to be a nice drop off? Also, too, is a waiver wire pickup. Just trade him, sell on it. Find a team that's truly struggling that needs a boost. Try and pick off a player that's underperforming on that team that you know will bounce back. Like if they have any of the guys I named up top, and try and trade up. Like if I can get Giancarlo Stanton for Eloy Jimenez, I'm doing it. If I can do Giancarlo Stanton for, Evan Carter, I'm doing it. I'm getting those guys, and I know that there's going to be better days to come. Those guys on way higher upside. We've seen that Giancarlo Stanton has not been a force for quite some time. So I just would rather move on and kind of not have a roster clog and have a multiple category contributor versus just power. And also a guy that could be healthy. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about this last guy here. Yu Darvish. I think we talked about him last week, but Yu is overperforming still. Okay. Last couple years, well, last year, I really thought that, it was I thought he was done. Like, age 36, I thought his career was pretty much over. He had a 4.56 ERA. I thought Father Time was catching up, especially with 2021 out there where he had a 4.22 ERA as well. It's just one of those things, but maybe it's an every other year thing since 2019. He had almost a 4 ERA in 2019, sub 3 in 2020, 4.22 in 21, 22 he had 3.10. Last year he had 4.56. Now he has a sub 3 with a 2.08 ERA. I think there's worse days to come, but you didn't pay much, and now if I can go and upgrade and get a guy that I think has a little bit more upside, like a Freddie Peralta for Yu Darvish, I'm trying to go and do that all day. Now you might have to add a little something, but still, going to get Peralta over him where I had Peralta at 15, I had Yu Darvish at 40. Yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do that 100%. And I know that Peralta is going to bounce back, so I'm going to do that in a heartbeat, and I'm not even going to think about it. So Yu Darvish needs to be traded, maybe not just for Peralta, maybe somebody else, but I promise you, Yu Darvish might start leveling out and returning to the mean because he is 37 years old and Father Time is unbeatable. Go out there and trade him now before the other shoe drops. And I promise you, you won't regret it. All right, guys. I want to thank you. Dom will be with us tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm not sure what we're doing. We're going to switch it up. I don't think we're going to do a worryometer anymore. I think we're going to move on to probably a new episode. Just haven't decided on which one yet. So stay tuned for that. And I promise it's going to be a good one. So with that, please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review. Check us out on the subtext. Don't forget to share our social media posts to get this awesome hat. And with that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. Peace out.